In the heart of the forest, an armored bear, standing tall and menacing, let out a ferocious roar, its teeth bared and eyes glowing with fury. The sheer intensity of its presence sent shivers down the spine of the man before it. "Don't come any closer," the man screamed. Nearby, another man dressed in a disheveled suit and tie watched the scene unfold, his expression one of shock. Up until this point, I was just an ordinary person, someone who went about life without much excitement or danger. But now, faced with this horrifying spectacle, I feel the urge to help somehow. The merchant, still desperately trying to fend off the beast, has no idea I'm here. This is my chance to run away. But as I prepare to turn and flee, a pang of guilt strikes me. Ah, what a horrible adult I am. As I stood there, paralyzed by fear and indecision, memories from my childhood began to flood back. I always looked up to firefighters, I thought, recalling those days when I was just a kid, watching them on TV with wide eyes. The way they rushed into danger without hesitation, saving lives and protecting others, they were my heroes. But as I looked down at my hands, clenched in uncertainty, the smile faded. Though I already had given it up, I realized a pang of regret settling in my chest. Somewhere along the way, that dream had slipped away, replaced by the mundane reality of adulthood. This place is, I wondered, my thoughts trailing off as I realized I was no longer on the train. Instead, I found myself floating in an empty, dark void, my body weightless as if gravity had abandoned me. A strange sensation washed over me, a mix of confusion and unease. Then, out of nowhere, a message appeared before me, glowing in the darkness. "You have been summoned to another world." I stared at the options, my mind racing. Was this real, a dream, or some kind of strange illusion? But deep down, a part of me knew that this was no ordinary dream. I was being given a choice that could change everything. A strange question. Am I just tired? I asked myself, rubbing my neck as I tried to shake off the lingering fog of exhaustion. The options before me seemed surreal, like something out of a game or a fantasy novel. Oh well, I sighed, contemplating the bizarre situation I found myself in. The roles offered, brave, wiseman, demon lord, each came with their own implications, their own expectations. But something in me recoiled at the thought. I don't think I can fulfill a great destiny, I admitted to myself, dismissing the idea of being brave. Such a troublesome thing is a no thank you, I added, shaking my head. Wiseman, I pondered, but immediately dismissed it with a bitter laugh. If you are smart, then you wouldn't get in a black company. The irony wasn't lost on me. I wasn't even smart enough to avoid working overtime at a dead-end job. And as for the last option, Demon Lord, the thought sent a chill down my spine. Either way, it's a death flag, I muttered under my breath. Whether it was ruling as a king or fighting on the front lines, the end seemed all too predictable. Is it possible to choose none? I wondered, looking up at the choices floating in the void. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how little any of these roles suited me. I was just an ordinary person, someone who had already given up on dreams of heroism or greatness long ago. I don't like the conclusion. I sighed again, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. But in this strange, otherworldly space, it seemed that choosing nothing might be the hardest choice of all. I swallowed hard, my decision made. With a hesitant gulp, I selected the hidden option. 4. Select none. It seemed like the only choice that felt true to who I was, but as soon as I confirmed it, the screen before me flickered. Huh? I muttered, confused. My eyes widened as new text appeared, revealing something I hadn't anticipated. Hidden option. 4. Select none was selected. If you see a hidden option, you'll be given substandard abilities. Wait, what? I blurted out, trying to process the information. Substandard abilities. That didn't sound good at all. Before I could fully grasp the consequences of my choice, another message flashed. Congratulations. Let's begin the transfer to another world. Kou Kousaka shall now be blessed by the spirits and the gods. Eh? Wait a minute. I tried to protest, but it was too late. A bright light enveloped me, the world around me dissolving into a blur. My mind raced, panic setting in as I realized I was about to be thrust into a new reality. one where I was ill-prepared, armed only with substandard abilities. This was far from what I had imagined when I chose none. I braced myself for whatever was to come, hoping against hope that I hadn't just made the worst mistake of my life. As the blinding light faded, I slowly opened my eyes, squinting against the sudden brightness. I found myself standing in the middle of a dense forest, sunlight streaming through the canopy above, casting dappled shadows on the ground. I wiped the sweat from my brow, trying to gather my thoughts. The cool, fresh air and the sound of birds chirping filled my senses, but none of it made sense. "What's going on?" I muttered, looking around in bewilderment. The last thing I remembered was being on that strange, dark plain, faced with those impossible choices. But now, here I was, in a completely different place, wearing the same suit I had worn to work. The reality of the situation began to sink in. I had actually been transported to another world, just like the message had said. But what did that mean? What was I supposed to do now? I stood there in silence, surrounded by the unfamiliar wilderness, my mind racing with questions. And the only answer I had was a deep, growing sense of uncertainty. I rubbed my temples, trying to make sense of everything. No way. Is this really another world? I muttered to myself, disbelief washing over me. Everything around me, the trees, the sounds, the smells, felt so vivid, so real. This sure feels real for a dream, I thought, pulling out the few belongings I had on me. I rifled through my pockets, hoping to find something, anything, that might help me make sense of this situation. But all I had was a smartphone, a wallet, a handkerchief, and a tissue. There's nothing else in my pocket. I sighed, the reality of my predicament starting to set in. What should I do in this forest from now on? I wondered, trying to think rationally. My mind raced through possible scenarios, but none of them seemed particularly helpful. Surviving in a world where I didn't know the rules or dangers was going to be a challenge, especially with substandard abilities. I couldn't help but smile wryly at the absurdity of it all. Here I was, in a completely different world, armed with nothing but the contents of my pockets and a vague sense of determination. What now? Suddenly something flashed in front of my eyes, pulling me out of my thoughts. "What?" I gasped, staring at the translucent screen that had appeared out of nowhere, hovering in the air before me. On it was a detailed display, almost like a character sheet in a video game. My status. Somehow there's a bunch of MP, I muttered, trying to make sense of the numbers and terms. It felt so surreal, yet here it was, right in front of me. A status screen detailing my abilities and stats. The screen provided more information as I focused on it, almost as if it could read my thoughts. MP, a numerical value of Kou Kousaka's magical power. It is a relative value when the general magician has a 100. It is recovered at a rate of 1% per second. I blinked, astonished. My MP, magical power, was 1,000. That sounded impressive, especially considering the general magician had only 100. And it recovered at a steady rate? This was nothing like I expected. This is getting even more entertaining, I thought, a grin forming on my face despite the absurdity of it all. It was like I had stepped into a video game world, and now I was being given the tools to navigate it. I couldn't help but feel a strange excitement bubbling up inside me. Maybe this other world wasn't such a bad place after all. With these abilities, I might just be able to survive, and maybe even thrive. I decided to test out one of the skills listed on my status screen. First is item box, I thought, focusing on the strange new power I somehow knew I had. For the time being, I want to try them out. I muttered to myself, feeling a strange sensation as if knowledge was flowing directly into the back of my head. It was dizzying, yet at the same time it felt natural, like this skill had always been a part of me. I reached out to touch the nearest tree, my hand pressing against its rough bark. "Touch the target," I murmured, focusing my thoughts on activating the skill. Suddenly, a swirl of magical energy erupted from beneath my feet, forming intricate patterns on the ground. "Storage!" I shouted instinctively, and with a flash of light, the entire tree began to dissolve into particles, disappearing into thin air. I stumbled back in awe as the massive tree vanished without a trace, absorbed into the mysterious space of the item box. My heart raced. both from the exhilaration of using magic and from the sheer surrealism of what I had just done. This is incredible, I thought, my mind buzzing with possibilities. If I could store something as large as a tree, what else could this skill be capable of? The realization that I had this power at my fingertips sent a thrill through me. This world was full of mysteries and dangers, but with skills like this, I might just have a fighting chance to survive, and maybe even conquer it. As I continued exploring the abilities at my disposal, I realized that one of the skills, Full Assist, had far more potential than I initially thought. Turns out this skill, Full Assist, helps me out in different ways. I mused, intrigued by its versatility. The other skills are. I started to explore them, but then the screen prompted me with a new option. Do you want to activate Full Assist to install skills faster? This gives you freedom to use your skills. I hesitated for only a moment before making my decision. Of course it's a yes, I thought, eager to maximize my abilities in this unfamiliar world. If there was a way to make things easier, especially with the potential dangers around, I wasn't about to pass it up. A sudden surge of energy rushed through me as if something was being downloaded directly into my mind and body. The sensation was intense, but not painful, more like a rush of adrenaline mixed with a flood of knowledge. Installation is complete. Thank you for your patience. The screen displayed with a soft beep. I stood there, wide-eyed and breathless, as the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. This wasn't just some game, it was real, and now I was armed with a host of skills that I could access with ease. The world around me felt different, as if the possibilities had suddenly expanded. I gasped, a mixture of awe and excitement bubbling up inside me. This world was beginning to reveal itself to me, and with these newfound powers, I felt a strange sense of confidence growing. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but one thing was clear. I wasn't as helpless as I had initially thought. This world was full of surprises, and I was ready to face them head-on. A grin spread across my face as I watched the item box skill in action. "Oh, this is convenient," I exclaimed, impressed by how effortlessly the cypress tree had been stored. I glanced at the screen, which now displayed the contents of the item box, Cypress Tree X1. A soft beep echoed as I interacted with the interface, and the screen quickly updated to show Cypress Wood X5. Oh wow! I marveled at how the tree had been automatically dismantled into usable materials. It was almost too easy. Next is dismantling, I thought, turning my attention to the next skill in the list. If the item box could store items, then dismantling could break them down into components, making it even more versatile. It seems that you can mainly use demon corpses as food or materials, I noted, recalling the information that had been downloaded into my mind earlier. But for now, the cypress wood would be a good test case. All right, dismantle, I commanded, curious to see what would happen. With another beep, the screen flashed, and the tree was quickly broken down into several pieces of wood. The process was seamless, almost as if the tree had never existed in its original form. The wood could now be used for crafting, building, or who knows what else. I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement building. These skills were far more powerful than I had imagined, and the possibilities they opened up were endless. This world was starting to feel less like a nightmare and more like an opportunity, one I was eager to explore. As I scanned through the list of skills, my curiosity grew. Do I really have such exciting skills? I wondered aloud, still trying to wrap my head around the potential each one held. One skill in particular caught my eye. Next up is creation. I accessed the skill, and the interface displayed the materials I had stored in the item box. Not a cypress tree, but a cypress stick, I noted, seeing how the materials had been categorized. With a beep, more information appeared on the screen. Creation rank. 1. The creative god's power resides within Kou Kousaka as a skill. The highest protection skill, materials are consumed in order to create new items. Additionally, a greater effect is granted to the created item with a higher rank. The higher the skill rank, the better the performance of the product possible. The description made my heart race. The possibilities with this skill were endless. All right, then immediately take it out of the item box, I instructed, eager to see what I could create. The air around me swirled as I activated the skill, the cypress wood transforming in a flash of light. Creation, I called out, watching as the wood began to reshape itself. Let's just make it anyway, I declared with a grin, my excitement growing. The screen beeped in response, confirming the success of the skill. The cypress wood had been crafted into something new, something useful. This world was full of potential, and with skills like these at my disposal, I felt a surge of confidence. I was ready to take on whatever challenges came my way, armed with the power of creation itself. I held the newly created item in my hand, a simple cypress stick, but there was something about it that felt extraordinary. It's just a stick, but it is somehow amazing, I thought, examining it closely. The screen provided more details. Cypress stick. It is a stick made from the shavings of Japanese cypress wood. Japanese cypress trees are sturdy and are difficult to set aflame. Its performance has been improved. Granted effect. Durability, incombustible, S+. I was taken aback by the enhancements. The stick wasn't just a simple piece of wood anymore. It had been upgraded with incredible durability and was now virtually fireproof. Skill experience points, I mused, realizing that using the skills was also improving them. With a loud bang, a notification appeared on the screen. Creation is now rank 2 due to skill experience point acquisition. More recipes will now be available. A smile spread across my face as I took it all in. Then that means the more I make, the higher my rank, and the amount of recipes will also increase. The potential was exhilarating. Well, it is convenient, I thought, contemplating the possibilities. This world, which had initially felt intimidating, was starting to feel like a place where I could really thrive. With these skills improving over time, who knew what I could eventually create? The excitement of discovery was growing within me, and I couldn't wait to see what I could craft next. I stood before the translucent screens, pondering the potential they held. What can I do? I asked myself, curious about the full extent of these abilities. My mind raced with possibilities, but I still had so much to learn. I wonder if this window can open or close, I mused, reaching out to interact with the interface. The thought alone seemed to trigger a response, and the screen flickered slightly as if acknowledging my curiosity. Suddenly, a sensation washed over me, and the display changed. Switching to image mode from window mode, a voice echoed in my mind, and the screens rearranged themselves, becoming more streamlined and intuitive. I see, I whispered, realizing that this system was far more sophisticated than I initially thought. It wasn't just a simple menu, it was adaptable, responsive to my thoughts and needs. The screens displayed various options in a more visual format, with the item box and creation skill now clearly organized. The cypress wood and stick were neatly listed, along with their properties and potential uses. A smile tugged at the corner of my lips. This was more than just a tool, it was a powerful asset in navigating this new world. With each passing moment, I was becoming more attuned to its capabilities, and I couldn't wait to see what else it could do. As I stood amidst the floating screens, a realization struck me. It can all be done in my head, I thought, marveling at the seamless interface that responded directly to my thoughts. This wasn't just a set of menus, it was an extension of my mind, allowing me to interact with the world in ways I had never imagined. Still, I knew I needed to be cautious. I'll be careful just in case, I reminded myself, aware that these powers, while incredible, also came with unknown risks. I decided to put the creation skill to use once more. Oh, there are more recipes, I noticed, the screen now showing a wider array of possibilities as my skill had leveled up. Creation, I commanded, and the materials I had stored in the item box began to swirl together. In a matter of moments, a new object materialized in my hand, a cypress wood axe. I examined the axe closely. It was a sharp, well-crafted tool, its edge gleaming with a keen sharpness akin to metal. The screen provided further details. Cypress wood axe. A sharp wood axe, carved by a skilled woodworker. Its sharpness is akin to that of metal. Granted effect, throwing critical. A hit correction, S+. The craftsmanship was remarkable, far surpassing what I had expected from a wooden axe. The granted effects would make it an effective weapon or tool, even against tougher opponents or challenges. I swung the axe lightly, feeling its balance and weight. This is incredible, I thought, a mixture of awe and satisfaction filling me. The possibilities of what I could create seemed endless, and with each new item, I felt more confident in my ability to survive in this new world. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but with these skills at my disposal, I knew I was ready to face whatever challenges came my way. I gripped the newly created cypress wood axe in my hand, feeling its weight and balance. Okay, I muttered to myself, trying to psych myself up. This was my first time wielding a weapon, and uncertainty gnawed at the edges of my confidence. But I've never used a weapon before, I thought, a hint of doubt creeping in. The axe was sharp, powerful, but in my hands it felt unfamiliar. I wasn't sure if I could use it effectively. Ah, the skill is for that, I realized, recalling the dexterity enhancement that came with the weapon. My body would know how to move, how to swing, even if my mind didn't. The skill would guide me. Should I throw it? I wondered, testing its balance, trying to imagine the motion. I didn't know much about my appraisal skill either, but I had a feeling it would come in handy soon enough. With a deep breath, I decided to give it a shot. I took aim at a nearby tree, focusing all my energy on the throw. Dexterity, I whispered, feeling a surge of precision flood through me. With a swift motion, I swung the axe. It cut through the air with incredible speed and force, and I could feel the skill enhancing my movements, guiding the axe with unerring accuracy. The blade struck the tree with a powerful impact, slicing cleanly through the trunk. The force of the blow was so strong that the tree was knocked over, crashing to the ground with a loud thud. I stared at the fallen tree, a mix of awe and satisfaction swelling within me. The skill had worked perfectly, compensating for my lack of experience. This world's systems were incredible, giving me the tools and knowledge I needed to survive and thrive. This was just the beginning, and I was eager to see what else I could do. With a mighty swing, I brought the cypress wood axe down on a large rock that stood in my path. The impact was immediate and explosive, the force of the blow sending shockwaves through the stone. The rock didn't just crack, it shattered into countless pieces, splintering under the immense power of the axe. I stood there, momentarily stunned by what I had just done. I gasped, a bead of sweat rolling down my temple as I looked at the now destroyed rock. I had expected the axe to be strong, but to break solid rock with just a wooden weapon. A nervous smile spread across my face as I tried to comprehend the sheer power of the tool I was wielding. Is it strange to break rock with wood? I wondered aloud, feeling a mix of awe and disbelief. The power that had been granted to me through these skills was beyond anything I could have imagined. The axe continued to hum with energy in my hand, and I knew that this was only a glimpse of what I could accomplish in this world. With the right skills and tools, even the impossible seemed within reach. I exhaled slowly, calming my racing heart. This world was truly something else, and I was starting to realize that I was far more capable than I ever thought possible. As I stood in the quiet forest, I reflected on everything I had discovered so far. The power of the skills at my disposal was incredible, but there was still much I didn't fully understand. There are still some skills I don't quite understand yet, I admitted to myself, my mind running through the list of abilities. Transferer, full assist, creation, dexterity, artisan god's eye, dismantling, item box, appraisal. The sheer variety and potential of these skills were overwhelming, but I knew I needed to learn how to use each one effectively if I wanted to survive in this new world. I looked around at the trees and the landscape that had become my temporary home. If this much is possible, I thought, considering everything I had achieved in such a short time, then I think I should be able to get by in another world. The realization filled me with a sense of determination. I had the tools, the skills, and now, the confidence to navigate this unfamiliar world. Here, let's raise creation's rank a bit and prepare some equipment, I decided. The more I used these skills, the stronger they would become, and the more prepared I would be for whatever challenges lay ahead. Okay, I said to myself, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. There was still so much to learn and do, but I was ready to take on whatever came next. With my skills at the ready and a world full of possibilities before me, I set out to continue my journey, eager to see what new adventures awaited. I looked up at the bright sky, shielding my eyes from the sun as I let out a deep sigh. The task of leveling up my creation skill had taken a lot out of me, but it was worth it. I had pushed myself and my abilities to the limit, and the results were already showing. With this, it's now rank 5, I thought, feeling a sense of accomplishment wash over me. The skill had grown stronger, more refined, and I could feel the difference in every item I created. As I stood there in the open field, I took a moment to reflect on how far I had come. The once intimidating and mysterious world was starting to feel more manageable, more within my control. Each step forward brought me closer to mastering the skills I needed to survive and thrive in this new life. The journey was far from over, but with my skills growing stronger and my confidence building, I knew I was ready for whatever came next. As I continued to explore the possibilities of my creation skill, I began to piece together some important lessons. There are 3 things that I learned from this, I thought, reflecting on the experience I had gained. First, experience points are gained whenever creation is activated with a new recipe. I had noticed that every time I tried something new, I could feel the skill growing stronger, its rank increasing as I experimented with different combinations. Second, a rank up occurs when the experience points reach a certain value. But I also learned that an existing recipe will not give any experience points, no matter how many times it is repeated. This meant that to keep advancing, I would need to keep pushing the boundaries of what I could create. Finally, I discovered that each item has its own granted effects, and these effects could vary widely depending on the material and the recipe. This made each creation unique, with potential uses that I hadn't even considered. As I reviewed the new recipes that had become available, I noticed something peculiar. Also, there are 8 recipes made from a Japanese cypress tree, I noted, intrigued by the variety of items I could craft from this one material. One of those items, a simple cypress chair, caught my attention. But as I looked closer at its properties, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of unease. Why does a chair have such a dangerous effect? I thought, bewildered by its granted effects. Cypress chair. Granted effects, faint effect S. A chair that could cause someone to faint? The implications were both amusing and unsettling. It was clear that the creations in this world could be far more than they appeared on the surface. With this newfound knowledge, I knew I had to be careful, both in what I created and how I used it. The power of creation was vast, and with it came the responsibility to use it wisely. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, I realized I needed to find shelter before nightfall. I want to get to a village before the sun sets, I thought, shading my eyes as I scanned the surroundings. The idea of sleeping out in the open didn't appeal to me at all. I don't want to sleep in the field. Oh well, I sighed, resigning myself to the task ahead. With a determined stride, I began making my way through the forest, my thoughts racing as I considered the journey ahead. Despite the distance I had already covered, I was surprised by how little fatigue I felt. I have walked quite a lot, but I still don't feel tired at all, I noted, wondering if this was due to one of my newly acquired skills. Is it thanks to the transferer skill? I pondered, my curiosity piqued. The skill had seemed powerful when I first read about it, but now I was beginning to understand just how useful it could be. Transferer rank 99. In addition to greatly improving the special skills, physical abilities, and overall strength, intuition, balance, and other effects within all objects from different worlds, language fluency of this world is also added. The rank is determined by the difficulty of the number of languages. The higher the number, the higher the correction. The maximum value is 99. The skill's description was impressive, and I could feel its effects subtly enhancing my body's performance. My movements were smoother, more coordinated, and the fatigue that would have normally set in by now was barely noticeable. With this skill, I was more than just an ordinary person. I was someone who could keep going, even when others might falter. And with the sun sinking lower in the sky, I needed every advantage I could get to reach the village in time. As I continued through the forest, something caught my attention. Just now. What was that? I paused, straining to listen more closely. My senses seemed heightened, more acute than ever before. Thanks to the transferer skill, all 5 of my senses are sharpened, I realized, marveling at the clarity with which I could now perceive the world around me. Whether it was sight, sound, or even smell, everything felt more intense, more vivid. For example, sight or hearing, I thought, honing in on the faintest of sounds. Suddenly, a loud, panicked scream pierced the air, cutting through the stillness of the forest. Ah! The sound of a man screaming in terror reached my ears, and my heart skipped a beat. Someone was in trouble. I focused intently, trying to determine the direction the scream had come from. The sharpness of my senses made it easy to pinpoint, and without hesitation, I started running. A screaming man, I muttered, adrenaline surging through me. Whatever was happening, I knew I had to check it out. I'll go take a look, I decided, sprinting through the forest with newfound speed and agility. The scream echoed again, and I pushed myself to move faster. With my enhanced senses and skills, I was more than capable of handling whatever danger lay ahead. But as I raced toward the source of the noise, I couldn't shake the feeling that something ominous awaited me. I burst through the tree line, and what I saw made my heart skip a beat. "That is a—" I gasped, my eyes widening in shock. In the clearing ahead, a massive creature stood towering over a terrified man. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before, a monstrous bear, but not just any bear. This beast was clad in armor, its body encased in a steel-like shell that glinted menacingly in the fading sunlight. The sight of it sent a chill down my spine. The bear let out a deafening roar, its sharp fangs bared as it prepared to attack. Rah! The sound echoed through the clearing, filled with an insatiable hunger for battle. Armored bear, a bear-like demon with a steel-like outer shell, a body seeking for battle. The information flashed in my mind, my appraisal skill working automatically to identify the creature before me. It was a formidable opponent, one that would not go down easily. The man on the ground scrambled backward, fear etched across his face. He was clearly outmatched, and without help, he didn't stand a chance. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I knew I had to do. This was no ordinary bear. It was a demon, and it was up to me to stop it. The scene before me was tense, the air thick with the anticipation of violence. The armored bear was advancing on the man, its massive claws poised to strike. The man, clearly terrified, waved his weapon desperately, trying to keep the beast at bay. "Stay away," he cried out, but the bear only growled in response, undeterred. It's a dangerous bear looking for a fight, I realized, my heart pounding in my chest. The situation was dire, and if the man was attacked like that, he wouldn't stand a chance. And if you're attacked like that, I thought, imagining the brutal outcome, my instinct screamed at me to do something, to intervene before it was too late. But a part of me hesitated. The armored bear hadn't noticed me yet, its focus entirely on the man in front of it. This was my chance. If I wanted to run away, now was the time. If I want to run away, now's my chance, I thought, torn between the urge to flee and the growing sense of responsibility. The rational part of me knew that I could avoid the fight, slip away unnoticed, and leave this terrifying situation behind. But then I thought of the man's terrified face, the way he struggled to fend off the monstrous creature. Could I really just walk away? In the end, the decision wasn't as simple as it seemed. In the end, I'm important, I reminded myself. My survival was crucial, but so was my conscience. Running away might keep me safe, but it would haunt me later. The tension inside me grew as I weighed my options, knowing that whatever I chose would have consequences. The armored bear was closing in, and time was running out. As I stood there, watching the terrifying scene unfold, a thought gnawed at me. But what I'm trying to do right now, isn't it the complete opposite? I asked myself, a bitter smile tugging at my lips. The idea of running away, of leaving someone to die just to save myself, felt wrong, so deeply wrong. If I run away now, that person will surely be killed, I realized, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I could see the man struggling, his fear palpable, and I knew in my heart that abandoning him wasn't an option. There should be something I could do, I thought, clenching my fists as determination flared within me. I wasn't powerless, not anymore. I had been granted incredible skills in this world, skills that could make a difference, if I had the courage to use them. I have the skills now, I reminded myself, taking a deep breath to steady my nerves. The fear of facing such a formidable foe was still there, but it was overshadowed by something stronger, a desire to help, to protect, to be more than just a bystander. Though I had already given up on my dream of becoming a hero, I thought, memories of past ambitions and disappointments flooding back. Once I had dreamed of being someone who could make a difference, who could stand against the darkness and emerge victorious. Life had taken that dream away from me, but now, in this strange new world, I had a second chance. The armored bear loomed over its prey, ready to strike, but I knew I couldn't let that happen. I had the power to intervene, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of that old dream reignite within me. My resolve solidified in an instant. There was no turning back now. Then, I thought, my eyes narrowing with determination. The fear and hesitation that had gripped me moments before were gone, replaced by a burning need to act. I launched myself forward, my body moving before my mind could fully process what I was doing. With every step, the distance between us closed. My heart pounded, each beat driving me forward faster, stronger. The bear's attention shifted toward me, its eyes locking onto the new threat. But I didn't falter. This was my moment to prove that I wasn't just running away from danger, I was facing it head-on. Whatever happened next, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let fear dictate my actions anymore. With every ounce of strength and skill I could muster, I charged at the armored bear, my body moving with a precision and speed that felt almost instinctual. "Dexterity!" I roared as the skill activated, enhancing my movements and reflexes beyond anything I had ever experienced. I swung my weapon with all my might, aiming for the bear's vulnerable spots. The impact was explosive, the force of my strike sending shockwaves through the bear's massive frame. The armored beast reeled back, its roar turning into a howl of pain and surprise as my blow landed true. The man who had been cornered by the bear looked on in shock, his eyes wide with disbelief as he witnessed the impossible, a single human standing toe-to-toe with a monstrous demon and holding his ground. The bear staggered, its steel-like armor cracked and battered from the force of my attack. But I wasn't done yet. I could feel the adrenaline surging through me, the determination to see this fight through to the end. This was my moment to prove that I had the strength, the skills, and the resolve to survive in this world. And I wasn't about to let anything, human or demon, stand in my way. The battle was over. The armored bear lay defeated on the ground, its massive body finally still. I stood over it, panting from the exertion, but a sense of relief washed over me. I had done it. I had protected someone in need. The man I had saved looked at me, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and gratitude. "Ah," he muttered, clearly still processing what had just happened. I smiled gently, extending my hand to him. "Are you all right?" I asked, my voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through me. As the man grasped my hand, pulling himself to his feet, I realized something important. I want to be someone who can reach out to someone in need, I thought, the resolve settling firmly within me. I didn't have to be a hero in the traditional sense.